Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Slow Blink Anime channel. It's me, Phil, today talking about another ReZero review. It's going to be episode 11 of season 2, episode 36 overall, called The Taste of Death. And this was a phenomenal episode. It was so good. We got information about Beatrice, well, a bunch of characters actually. Beatrice, Maylee, Emilia, and especially Roswaal. I think that was the main hitter of this episode. Roswaal and Beatrice, they were both really good because we got information about Beatrice's contract and then Roswaal's reasoning for doing everything that he does. So it's kind of crazy, especially the ending. It was really insane. And then we had some questions about Emilia that we weren't sure about, like about whether the way she was acting, if it was actually Emilia or not, or if she was just going crazy. And I think I have a guess on that. But just a quick summary of the episode. It was Subaru confronting Beatrice about whether she was a witch cultist, and that was one of the main things she was talking about him with, and also about the gospel that she supposedly has, which is actually not a gospel that Roswaal had told us a few episodes back. It was a set of 2 that was the Tome of Wisdom, and that's how she's been making her decisions. And then we get some interactions with Maylee and Elsa, and then we also get some fight scenes with Beatrice, and then it's the confrontation with Roswaal at the end that really makes this a hard-hitting episode, and it was really good. So let's jump right into it. So especially right at the beginning, it's coming off of the episode from before where he goes into the library with Beatrice and he's talking to her about her contract, and he ends up talking to her, and then he looks at the gospel that she supposedly has, and then all the pages are empty. And this was a kind of shock to us because in the episodes before, she was saying how she's been following her decisions have been based on what was happening in the book, which has been true up until a point. And she said it's been a few years since that the future has stopped appearing for her. So it was kind of a shock to us too. So it kind of gives us an idea that her actions were actually her actions when she was talking about Subaru prior, because he hasn't been there more than a year. So she kind of lied to him, and I think it was just to kind of push him away. And I think it was based on her words too, because she says there's supposed to be a person that's going to end her contract. And it's kind of a sense of, like, I don't even know how to describe it, kind of like a grudge that he's not the person that's going to be ending the contract. And that was like a major point in this episode, because one of her main goals that she described was she was supposed to, I think I have it written down here, she was contracted by a Echidna for one, and it was 400 years ago, just as Ryuzu also was working for Echidna in a way, from the immortality thing, the experiment that they had been working on. But with Beatrice, her contract was to defend the knowledge, or maintain and curate this library's knowledge, is what she said the contract demands. So she's pretty much just locked into this place until this person that Roswaal has talked about and Ram has mentioned before is supposed to be ending her contract, which is just, I guess she's just supposed to stay here and protect the knowledge of the library up until this person shows up. And then she said every time she's watching the door, it's supposed to be like she gets excited and hopeful that it's going to be the person that's going to free her from this. And then that was another thing, she was asking Subaru to kill her. And it wasn't just because she wanted to die. It was more the way she described it. She wanted to be free from these shackles of this contract that's holding her in. And then Subaru is, of course, wanting to help her. And it's not going the way he wanted it to, because like he wants to try, but then she said, this is the other part that confused me. She said, if you can't kill me, then the only other way is to make me your number one, like focus on me, only choose me, like pick me first. I think, how did she describe it? It was pick me first, put me first, think of me first, choose me first, and then overwrite the contract. Which I wasn't sure exactly what she meant by that. I didn't know if it was like they needed to be loved in a way, or just for her to have a different purpose in life other than doing this, because she is a spirit, and it's like she was just trapped in this library because of Kidna, and since she has no futures, it's like she's just lost waiting for something to happen, and nothing has happened for her. And as they're having this conversation, of course Subaru is not going to kill her, and Elsa shows up through the doors, and she did it by because she found out Beatrice's magic was through the doorway, so she just left every single door open until she found the one where it was Beatrice and Subaru, and she's like, "I'll be that person for you. I'll be the one that can kill you." And of course, and then Subaru jumps in and starts trying to defend her. Gets in front of her, in between Elsa and Beatrice, and he's about to do the shamak, and then Beatrice does shamak, and they're able to escape from that and through the cloud. And it was interesting because she's like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you trying to help me? Like, what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna go after these other people? And Elsa had said that Meili had went after the village because that's where the targets were, and then the targets were the big maid and the little maid, and then it was Meili confronted them like in the forest when they were on their way to the village, and Meili ended up being it's like Meili Poncher. I can't even remember her name. It starts with a P, the last name, but she ended up being one of the little girls from season 1 that was during the whole Mob Beast situation that Subaru had to help out. And it turns out she's a Mob Beast user, and she's the one that brought out those dogs and she also had bats and something else. I think it was a snake. They were black snakes, and that was her powers because she said she had just killed everybody in the village and she fulfilled her mission. And then he asked about Petra, and she's like, yeah, she was my friend, so I made sure she died in one bite. So she's pretty crazy too. So she's an assassin, or the hunter, however they're described, the same as Elsa, and they had the same little outfit, the same type of style in the outfit. So she was interesting because she was just like a little kid and goofy still, but you could tell she was also strong. But while they're having that conversation, Elsa shows up and tries to attack Beatrice and Subaru, but Beatrice defends herself. She's able to use really strong, I can't remember, is it shadow magic? Same as Subaru, so they're the same type, and she's able to use like time magic to attack as I think they're like time arrows, she said, and they were really cool. She was actually fighting back and putting pressure on Elsa, and then we end up finding out that she like it looks like she killed Elsa with this like crystallization thing, and it looks, we see her shattering to pieces on the ground, and all of a sudden they think they're ready to fight, and they're about to fight Meili, the blue-haired girl. And then all of a sudden, Beatrice gets stabbed through the chest, and that was one of the things Elsa was wondering. Like, I wonder how a spirit looks on the inside. And she gets stabbed, and of course, and then she ends up being grateful and happy. It seems like she was relieved almost to be passing on from the situation. And Elsa's just like admiring and happy from the situation because she got what she wanted, to see the inside of a spirit. And it was just like so curious for her. But that's besides the point, because Beatrice is dying, and then Subaru gets attacked right after that because he like in a rage like lashed out at Elsa. And it's just Subaru caring about Beatrice, and it's this bond that he's felt throughout the whole season, because everybody in the mansion matters to him, especially, well, everyone in the mansion does matter to him, especially the maids, all the maids. But Subaru gets stabbed in the eye right after that, just because the look he was giving Elsa. And as he's on the floor in pain, on the ground in pain, Beatrice teleports him before he can get killed by Elsa or Meili. And he's back at the sanctuary, and it's snowing. And this was one thing I wanted to correct from one of my guesses from last few episodes, that I thought when he got teleported to the sanctuary and it was snowing, I thought months had passed, but it was actually magic that was making it snow. But anyway, that was just wanted to correct that real quick. But he sees Emilia there, and she's at the sanctuary, and she's still trying to do the trial, and it was kind of weird because we didn't see her face and her eyes were covered, and she was being very like sweet and loving towards Subaru, like longing for him. She's like, I hadn't seen you in so long, I knew you'd come back, and stuff like that. And she ends up telling Subaru that she loves him. And when we see her face, it was like the dark eyes, and they were just shadows like in the eyes that you could see. And that was the speculation that we were discussing before and off camera, that we didn't know if that was actually Emilia or Satella. And my guessing is it was just Emilia. This is my guess, that it's just Emilia going crazy because, or just like kind of losing it. And there's a few things like later on in the episode that helped me come to that decision. But the main thing I noticed was that because they both said "I love you," just like Satala did whenever in the last episode when they were fighting. But the different way they said it, was different in Japanese because Satala was saying "aishiteru," which is like a more intense form of love, and it's like you would say that to like your husband or wife, like in that situation, or someone you really really love. And then Emilia was saying "daisuki," so that's like "I like you." That's more like "I like you," like I'm interested in you. That's what you'd say to someone like you're gonna ask out some in that situation, like boyfriend, girlfriend, or even before that, you would say that. So just the way they said it, it made me feel like it is Emilia in there. It's just her kind of losing her mind and going crazy. And then that was part of the plan too, because later in the episode, Roswaal ends up saying the whole point was, he's the one that was causing the snow to fall there in the sanctuary. And the whole point was to like isolate Emilia from the villagers, and since she doesn't have Puck, she would have no one, and she'd be forced to lean on Subaru. And since he's not there, she kind of just falls into this really really bad state of mind for her. And that was the main thing I was thinking. Oh, that was the two main reasons I thought that it is Emilia. It's just her kind of not being all there and kind of losing it a little bit. And that's the way I saw it, because I did at first think it was Satala. But anyway, so he's in there with her, and then she's like, "I love you," and of course he's not reciprocating anyway because he knows something's not right. So he leaves, and then outside is Ryuzu and Garfield, and Subaru's telling them, he's like, "Well, Emilia's in there. She says she cares about me and she loves me," and Garf's getting mad. He's like, this is not the time. And Subaru like turns around and starts yelling at Garf. He's like, "Emilia would never say that. Like, that's not her. Or, that's not how she is," or something like that. And he's just like, he's got his eye missing and whatever, and he's sad too. And he's got like tears in his face. And then he's like, "Where's Roswaal?" And he needs to find him. And then because Garf was mentioning how it's he was implying that it was Emilia that was making it snow in the sanctuary, but it was they both came to the realization it was probably Roswaal. And Subaru thought of that more than Garf, but they both went together, and they show up at the little house where Roswaal's kind of recuperating and recovering. So they go in. He's like, "Oh, this is a interesting pair to see together." And right away, Subaru's asking about the snow, and Ram is there, and she ends up getting defensive whenever they start accusing Roswaal, and Garfield's the one that's kind of pushing it and being aggressive about it. And as they're arguing back and forth, Garfield and Roswaal, Ram gets in between them and is like, she's like just trying to like control the situation and telling to back off. And we get like a huge shocker during the episode because Roswaal goes through Ram to attack Garfield and stabs both of them in the chest. And it was really bad because this next part, I really enjoyed to see Garfield's in this situation, not like in pain, but like the way he was acting afterwards, because they both got stabbed. Garfield fell back, and then Ram fell on top of him, and he's like, "Ram, Ram, Ram," and like he's like concerned about her, and he like rolls her over, and immediately he starts trying to heal her with his magic, and he's like he's just trying to help her. And he starts getting angry, and you can see him turning into his beast form. And then right away, Roswaal kicks him in the head, and it was like bad. Like, he kicked him really hard, and I thought he'd taken his head off, but like you can see him later. But he's just like he just murdered him right there. And Ram ends up dying too, just from the wound she got from Roswaal. And Subaru's freaking out because this situation is just insane, and we hadn't seen Roswaal act in this way at all. Like, he hadn't been any kind of aggressive and willing to murder people he knew or cared about or allegedly was like part of his little group or circle. And this was insane. It was crazy. Like, when we saw this, I was just I couldn't believe he was actually doing it, especially to Ram of all people, because it seemed like they were more close than anyone else in the mansion. She was the most close to Roswaal than anyone in the mansion. That's what I thought. But anyway, it was some interesting things here. Subaru asked if Roswaal was making it snow, and then Roswaal was surprised. He's like, "Oh, did you hear that from me?" Because Roswaal has a speculation that Subaru has some sort of power, and that's what the words meant when he said that. He's like, "Oh, did you hear that from me?" So that means his guess is that Subaru has like different lives or something, or different situations that he can in different scenarios he can fix a situation. Is his guess. So in the life he's living, Subaru has just been perfect, and then so each life. So he assumes that he had met other lives. Subaru has met other lives of Roswaal, and maybe in one of those lives, Roswaal had told him that he was the one making it snow. So that's why he was like, "Oh, did you hear it from me?" So this is the first part where we get information or hints that Roswaal knows something about Subaru or assumes something about him, and it's more of an assumption. Going back to where Ram and Garfield got killed. Subaru was just angry at Roswaal. He's like, "Well, I can talk to you now since it was part of our deal. I'll talk to you." And then he's like, "You've been avoiding me over and over." That's what Subaru said to Roswaal. And then Roswaal, this is him getting even more excited. So he's like, "Over and over." So this is more of him confirming that Subaru does have some kind of power and maybe has repeated this before, so that he's getting more excited and more interested in what's going on, because it seems like his assumption is right. And then the way Roswaal describes it, he's like, "You feel like Subaru isn't feeling any grief. Like he sees the shock in Subaru, but there's no grief in the death of Ram or Garfield, because the look he has, it's like you are able. This seems like something you can undo," is the way he described it. So this is Roswaal just egging Subaru on maybe to say something and to confirm. But it was really exciting, this part, because Roswaal has always been a smart guy and powerful guy, but now we're getting like his true colors and the way he really thinks. And I was loving every second of this part. And then that's when Roswaal brings out the book, and he's like, "I don't need to explain to you who has the other one, because it's the exact tome of wisdom, like the fake gospel they were talking about, and it's the pair that to the one Beatrice had." So because in the episodes before he had mentioned there was only two, and so now we know who has both of them. And I think he had brought it out before in the episode prior. But as they're having this conversation, Roswaal was like, "There's other ways I can get you to." I can't remember. He's just wanting Subaru to help him with his goal too. So I guess to instill some kind of fear, and then him knowing this Roswaal in this life, knowing that Subaru can restart and retain the information he had from those other lives. He wants to make an impact in this life so that Subaru will make those decisions in the life he restarts. So Roswaal, that's the reasoning behind Roswaal just beating the crap out of Subaru. That's the way I saw it, because he wanted to be impactful, and he wanted Subaru to remember this and knows the kind of person he would be, and to just be on his side. And just, I think that was the reasoning behind him just beating the crap out of him. And the beatdown part of that episode, I know it's pretty bad. He was like kicking him the whole time, and across the room, all over the room, and into the furniture. It was really bad, but really good because we were watching it. But as they're finishing up that fight, he sees like, "Oh, I guess this conversation's over," because outside they see all the great rabbit, and that all the red eyes are in the forest coming, and one comes through the window, and Roswaal just burns it down real quick with the Goa. I think that's what the magic was. But he starts explaining to Subaru how, well, Subaru tries to call a truce, but Roswaal just disagrees right away, and Roswaal tries to explain to Subaru that he's not able to fulfill his goal, but everything he does is with intent of him trying to get closer to achieving the goal. And that's how he was telling Subaru that he needs to be as well. And he was telling how this is the part where he told Subaru that he made the magic, that he used magic to make the snowfall just so he can isolate I keep saying Elizabeth, Emilia, and that was the reasoning too behind me thinking it is Emilia, because he was doing it to make her kind of lose it a little bit or go crazy. This is the part that was like really badass. Like, it was just crazy because Roswell's a smart dude. Like, we know he's smart and powerful, and he's always, like, we know now his only purpose in life is to achieve this goal. And then he said he's making, the way he makes decisions, this is what Subaru said, he makes decisions based on the assumption that someone else can start over. So he's going through his life, which is like the main life for us, and then he's like, this life is not going to be here, but another me will achieve the goal. So he knows, like, in this life, like, he's pretty much like given up here on this life, but he knows that in this one he can't achieve his goal, but in the next one he will be able to, because this person, Subaru, is able to restart. So if he influences Subaru and makes decisions based off of Subaru being able to fix things in a life that he's not living in but will live in, it's crazy, like, the whole situation, because he's assuming that someone else can fix it, and that's like throwing away your whole life every time because you think someone else can fix it in another life that you're not living, but it is you. It's crazy. Like, it's weird to word it, but Roswell's just insane, and his character right here, it makes him seem like a terrible person, but his only purpose in life, in any of his lives, is to achieve his goal. And in his main life, he knows that this person can help him achieve his goal, even if this life he's living fails. It's crazy. Like, it's insane. Like, I had to think about it before, the way, and I had to figure out a way to word that, because him acting that way is just, it's just insane. I don't have any other words for it. It's out of this world. And Subaru was feeling the same way. He's like, I can't believe someone would think this way. And that's just the kind of guy that Roswaal is. And before, I thought, one of my guesses before was that Roswaal could restart himself, like he could do return by death, but I guess that's not the case. But he's just like, I don't know, this guy is insane. I can't say enough good stuff about it in the writing. It was a really great episode. And he said Subaru will be like him one day. He just has to get rid of everything in his life except the thing that's most precious to him, and you can be like me. And after he said those words, that's when he got killed by the great rabbit. And it was just like a whole bunch of them biting him. And he was still talking while he was dying. And he was like, it was like he was at peace with himself dying, because he knows that Subaru can fix this, or he will fix this in some way. And I was loving every second of it, man. It was so great, this episode. And what's interesting too is that he's like, his next life, when Subaru restarts, won't know this information, but he will still make decisions based off of him thinking that Subaru can do this. It's great. It's all like loops back. It's just fantastic. Anyway, that's pretty much how the episode ended. We get like this kind of broken camera shot, and it's Subaru heading back to the sanctuary where Emilia was, and he's just, you can see he's in pieces barely, and he barely makes it to her. And Emilia still has that crazy eyes with the shadow in them, and she's trying to comfort him, but it's like she didn't even notice that he was dying. It almost seemed like she was just happy to see him and for him to be there. And he's like, oh, are you tired? And then you can like rest in my lap here. You like doing that, don't you? And then, like, I don't even think Subaru was talking at the end. And then he lays down in her lap, and he's dying right there. Hopefully he's gonna restart. He should restart more. Yeah, he's definitely gonna restart. And at the end of the episode, it's called Taste of Death, and I guess that's why Emilia ends up kissing him at the very end. It was just like a callback to the title. It was fantastic, but it was a phenomenal episode. I really enjoyed it. This was like a 10 out of 10 for me on this one. Yeah, that was the main thing. So I don't think, so just to review everything, I don't think Emilia is Satella in the situation. I think it's actually her going crazy. Beatrice, she's a spirit for sure. She's working for Echidna, and I don't know about her being, I don't know how she can fix this contract. And I was wondering too, because Subaru didn't do the, like, Roswaal told me to ask the question, or told you to ask the question, and I am that person. He didn't go through all that with her, which I thought he was. And what else? Apparently Elsa's really powerful because she was able to take out Beatrice, 400-year-old spirit. So I don't know. Anyway, I don't think Roswaal's a bad guy. I think he's just a guy that only cares about one thing, and that might make him a bad dude. But we'll see what happens. I don't know if he's gonna end up going back to a kid in the next episode to try to get more information. But he's in a bad situation right now. And this has been a really good restart life that he's on, and this whole episode's good. Next week, or the next episode, should be the last one of the season. Not the season, excuse me. Part 1 of this season. And we'll be getting part 2 of the season in 2021. But thank y'all for listening, for watching. It was a really great episode. Let me know what y'all thought. Did y'all's opinions of Roswaal change after this episode? Because if anything, I like him even more. I don't like him as I like his character even more. But as a person, he's not that great of a person. But anyway, thank y'all for listening and for watching. And make sure y'all like and subscribe and leave comments and let me know what y'all think. Thank y'all for listening, and I'll see y'all next time.